The Russian offensive that was meant to shift the balance of the war has instead turned into one of the most dramatic failures in recent memory, collapsing under the weight of its own paranoia, mismanagement, and lack of trust between commanders and soldiers. What started as a bold attempt to show overwhelming power on the battlefield has spiraled into chaos, leaving broken equipment, demoralized soldiers, and an international audience witnessing a catastrophe unfold in real time. The operation was supposed to demonstrate strength, yet it has revealed only weakness, and the very paranoia intended to keep troops disciplined has become the poison that destroyed their unity and their effectiveness. The outward appearance of the offensive was designed to project fear. Russia mobilized columns of tanks, armored vehicles, artillery, and infantry to create the impression of a machine that could not be stopped. Images of heavy equipment rolling across the fields were pushed into the media as symbols of power, and the Kremlin insisted that this campaign would mark a decisive turning point. But beneath this exterior, reality told another story. Many of the vehicles sent forward were outdated and poorly maintained, breaking down in the middle of the push. Soldiers marched with supplies that were either insufficient or altogether absent. The carefully constructed image of strength was nothing more than a facade, one that quickly cracked once the first shots were fired. Inside the operation, the situation was even darker. Morale among the troops collapsed almost immediately. Soldiers questioned the purpose of their mission, whispered about the corruption of their commanders, and feared they were being sent to die in hopeless assaults. Reports of internal conflict spread across units, with officers distrusting their men and men distrusting their officers. This paranoia infected the ranks, spreading faster than any enemy offensive could. Fear replaced loyalty, suspicion replaced discipline, and rumors replaced clear communication. In such an atmosphere, even the strongest weapons could not be used effectively. The hollow core of the offensive was exposed for everyone to see, leaving an army at war with itself before even engaging the enemy. Performance on the battlefield was catastrophic. Instead of swift victories, Russia encountered stalled advances and devastating ambushes. Ukrainian forces, prepared and motivated, took advantage of every weakness, striking convoys, isolating units, and destroying entire columns of tanks and vehicles. Communication failures meant that troops moved without coordination, sometimes walking into traps or firing on their own allies by mistake. Air support was absent or too late, artillery barrages missed their targets, and supply lines collapsed under repeated Ukrainian strikes. What should have been coordinated power turned into confusion and disaster. Each attempted advance ended in retreat, and each retreat deepened the sense of paranoia and defeat within the Russian ranks. Safety was almost non-existent. Soldiers were thrown into battle without adequate reconnaissance, without secure withdrawal routes, and without enough medical support to save the wounded. Convoys carrying vital supplies were left unprotected, becoming easy prey for drones and long-range strikes. Defensive systems meant to shield troops from counterattacks often failed, leaving men and equipment exposed on open ground. Those who survived attacks felt abandoned, trapped in a battlefield where their own leadership offered no plan for survival. The lack of safety measures created an atmosphere of constant fear, a fear that fed directly into the paranoia already spreading through the army. No soldier could feel secure, and in war, that sense of insecurity can be as destructive as the enemy's bullets. The supposed advantages of the Russian military, its unique selling points, crumbled when tested. The Kremlin relied on manpower, believing that sheer numbers would overwhelm Ukrainian resistance. But men cannot win battles if they are untrained, unwilling, and drowning in distrust. Artillery superiority, another cornerstone of Russia's war strategy, proved ineffective when ammunition ran short and poorly chosen targets wasted what shells remained. Air superiority, which Moscow claimed in certain sectors, was useless against Ukraine's skillful deployment of drones and mobile strike units. Even technological bragging points like electronic warfare systems often malfunctioned or failed to counter Ukrainian ingenuity. What was meant to be Russia's edge instead revealed itself as weakness, and the world saw a supposedly powerful army stripped of its illusions. The price of this paranoia-fueled disaster is immense. Thousands of Russian soldiers have been lost, not in heroic victories but in chaotic failures that achieved no strategic goal. Families across Russia receive devastating news while the government struggles to explain why so many lives were wasted. Billions of rubles worth of equipment lies destroyed or abandoned, left smoldering in fields and roadsides as monuments to incompetence. Politically, the price is even higher. Russia's reputation as a military giant has been damaged beyond repair, with allies and adversaries alike questioning its capabilities. Every failed offensive strengthens Ukraine's position diplomatically and militarily, while weakening Russia's influence abroad. The price is not only in blood and metal but in the credibility of an entire state. The deeper tragedy of this campaign is that paranoia itself became the deadliest enemy. Soldiers suspected betrayal at every turn, commanders doubted the loyalty of their men, and intelligence reports were dismissed as false or misleading. This constant suspicion created paralysis in decision-making, hesitation in action, and confusion in execution. Even when opportunities appeared on the battlefield, the lack of trust meant they could not be seized. The offensive did not collapse solely because of Ukrainian strength. It collapsed because Russia's paranoia consumed its ability to function as an army. The enemy did not need to infiltrate the ranks, the poison was already inside. The impact of this failure extends far beyond the battlefield. For Ukraine, it is a source of renewed confidence and determination. Each failed Russian push demonstrates that the invader is vulnerable, disorganized, and unable to achieve its goals. For the Russian public, the collapse raises painful questions about the direction of the war, the competence of its leaders, and the cost that ordinary families must bear. For the international community, the spectacle of Russia's paranoia-driven failure has reshaped perceptions of global power. Once feared as unstoppable, the Russian military is now seen as fragile, its weaknesses laid bare for all to see. Every new attempt to revive the offensive only deepens the spiral. Troops thrown into combat grow more disillusioned, equipment losses pile up, and Ukraine adapts quickly to exploit every misstep. Instead of regaining control, Russia finds itself trapped in a cycle of failure, paranoia, and defeat. The longer it continues, the more irreversible the damage becomes. What was supposed to be a decisive show of strength has become a lasting example of weakness, and the paranoia that spread through the ranks has guaranteed that no amount of propaganda can cover the truth. The lesson of this catastrophe is stark. Wars are not won by numbers alone, nor by heavy machines, nor by propaganda. Wars are won through trust, unity, discipline, and clear leadership. Russia's offensive had none of these, and it paid the price. An army divided by paranoia cannot stand against a determined and united opponent. The operation has revealed that the greatest threat to Russia's war effort is not Ukraine's weapons but Russia's own collapse from within. The paranoia that infected the offensive turned it into a disaster of historic proportions, leaving behind only destruction, despair, and the undeniable truth that this campaign was doomed from the start. As history records these events, the Russian offensive will be remembered not as a show of power but as a cautionary tale. It will stand as proof that paranoia destroys armies, that fear undermines strength, and that no amount of machinery or manpower can compensate for the absence of trust and competence. The collapse is complete, the catastrophe undeniable, and the consequences will echo long after the last battle in this failed operation is over.